So to track NSO, Citizen Lab has used two basic investigative approaches. One is working closely with victims, and the other is technical analysis. From the victim work, this involves getting in touch with potential targets and examining suspicious messages that they may have received and comparing those to lists that we've developed of servers that belong to NSO infrastructure that are being used by different countries. Where do we get those lists? We get that from a process of scanning using something called fingerprinting, where we identify unique behavior of servers when sent specific kinds of information. So when you send a server a certain kind of a request, the server answers. Now, the servers that are running Pegasus have unique ways of responding to those requests. We've been able to use those unique responses to map out Pegasus globally by sending those requests to everything connected to the internet during specific times. When we put those two pieces of work together, we're able not only to say, here are specific countries where we believe Pegasus is being used and operated, but also here are specific individuals who are victims of Pegasus spyware or who've been targeted with that spyware. We're also able to use some technology that enables us to look at DNS requests coming out of infected machines. So that's basically when a machine is infected, it's going to be trying to contact its server and say, hey, here I am, right? I've got data to send you. My colleague Bill developed a technique for looking around the world for devices that were making those requests, that were looking for the server that they needed to report back to. And that enabled us to make certain discoveries about where Pegasus infections were taking place. One example of that work led us to an individual, Omar Abdulaziz, in Canada, who is being targeted by, we believe, a Saudi government-linked Pegasus operator. I think there's an opportunity at this time for the Mexican government to conduct a real investigation of the abuse of Pegasus. Citizen Lab has provided the Mexican Office of the Prosecutor, the PGR, with a detailed list of sources of data and information that they could seek to conduct a real expert investigation of Pegasus. Such an investigation doesn't have to start from nowhere, and it doesn't have to start with the claims of victims or the work of Citizen Lab. It can start by looking at the audit trails and documentation that were generated directly by the targeting with Pegasus in the systems that are installed to run the Pegasus software. It can also begin by debriefing the individuals who were running those Pegasus deployments and who were engaged in the targeting, and it can use the fact that there are laws governing the retention of text messages and internet information by Mexican telcos and internet service providers to subpoena those records and look at them for evidence of this targeting. I think that if there is an investigation that is honestly committed to a credible result, there are many avenues that they can take and many places where they can start that will provide immediate confirmation that this targeting took place. Unfortunately, until now, we've not seen evidence that many of those sources of data and evidence have actually been consulted.